Former President Rodrigo Duterte cries out illegal detention at Villamor Air Base after he was served an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. The former president was arrested upon his arrival at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport on Tuesday, March 11. Duterte's arrest came amid a case before the International Criminal Court for alleged crimes against humanity during his administration's war on drugs. Duterte was then brought to Villamor Air Base in Pasay City. Based on a series of videos posted by Duterte's daughter Veronica or Kitty on Instagram, Duterte questions the process of his arrest while in a conversation with Prosecutor General Anthony Fadullon. In the video, Duterte dares Fadullon to explain to him why he was deprived of liberty.
What is the law and what is the crime that I committed? Show to me now the legal basis for my being here. As apparently I was brought here not of my own volition. It's somebody else's. Kung hindi ibang tao, ikaw siguro, because this is your structure. So you have to answer now for the deprivation of liberty.
Former Executive Secretary Salvador Majaldea, who was seated beside the former president in the video, points out that no apparent case was presented to Duterte when he was served an arrest warrant. Majaldea also reminds Fadullon that the country is no longer a member state of the International Criminal Court.
And then, hindi pa kayo na ganito ginagawa natin. Sumusunod tayo sa isang entity na hindi na tayo membro. Nag-withdraw na tayo. And yet, sir, you are the Prosecutor General. Yes. You know how to exercise due process. Before you can even file charges, you have to file a complaint. We have to file a counter affidavit. Without doing those procedural process, here we are being issued a warrant of arrest, a questionable warrant of arrest.
Duterte is facing a case at the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity allegedly committed during his administration's war on drugs. The palace says the International Criminal Police Organization, Manila, received the official copy of the warrant of arrest from the International Criminal Court against former President Rodrigo Duterte on early Tuesday morning. Following her father's arrest, Vice President Sara Duterte has also arrived in Manila on Tuesday, March 11, after a personal trip in Hong Kong. According to the Office of the Vice President, Sara Duterte arrived at 3:21 p.m. in Manila following a personal trip to Hong Kong last weekend. However, the Office of the Vice President refuses to provide any other details about her trip. The Office of the Vice President says the Vice President is accompanied by her children and will address any relevant matters at the appropriate time. The Vice President's arrival comes shortly after former President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested upon his arrival in Manila on Tuesday morning. The former president's arrest warrant was an order from the International Criminal Court for his alleged crimes against humanity committed during his administration's war on drugs. The former president is currently in the custody of police at the Villamor Air Base. The Philippine National Police says it was only assisting the Philippine Center for Transnational Crime in implementing the International Criminal Police Organization notice against former President Rodrigo Duterte. This statement came amid outcry from Duterte, who cried illegal detention. Duterte was arrested upon his arrival at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport from Hong Kong on Tuesday, March 11. He was then brought to Villamor Air Base in Pasay City. In a statement, the PNP says they remain committed to assisting in lawful processes while maintaining peace and order. It adds that the organization uphold its duty to enforce the law with professionalism and adherence to due process in fulfilling their role. The International Criminal Court issued the warrant for Duterte's arrest for crimes against humanity allegedly committed during his administration's bloody war on drugs. Malacanang says they officially received the arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court early Tuesday morning. The PNP says it deployed more than 300 police officers at the airport and other key locations to ensure a peaceful and orderly process as Duterte arrived in Manila. Furthermore, the PNP says that PNP Chief General Romel Marbil and Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Director Major General Nicolas Torre III were present at the airport to oversee security. Duterte was in Hong Kong over the weekend for a campaign sortie of PDP Laban senatorial candidates with overseas Filipino workers. Former Senator Leila de Lima says it is now time for former President Rodrigo Duterte to face his share of raps and let the rule of law take its course. Duterte was arrested on Tuesday, March 11 by the Philippine National Police to implement the International Criminal Police Organization Red Notice for the International Criminal Court arrest order. This is for the alleged crimes against humanity during his administration's war on drugs filed against the former chief executive. De Lima admits that Duterte's arrest is personal for her since she believes she was imprisoned due to her criticism of the past administration's drug war.
This is deeply personal for me. For almost 7 years, I was imprisoned on fabricated charges, accused of crimes I did not commit, all because I dared to speak out against Duterte's drug war. While I was behind bars, thousands of Filipinos were killed without justice, their families left to grieve with no answers, no accountability.
After facing her case before courts, De Lima says Duterte must now answer for his actions before the rule of law.
I faced my case, knowing I was innocent. I stood before the courts because I had nothing to hide. Duterte now has to answer for his actions, not in the court of public opinion, but before the rule of law. This is how justice should work. Those in power must be held to the same standards as everyone else.
De Lima adds Duterte is being made to answer now because the world refuses to forget his actions. The former senator further says that Duterte's arrest is not about vengeance but is about justice taking its course. De Lima's party list group Mamamayang Liberal also maintains that Duterte's arrest is not about retribution, but rather his arrest is merely the service of justice in the pursuit of accountability for all victims of extrajudicial killings of the past administration's drug war. Duterte was slapped with the complaints before the International Criminal Court over his administration's war on drugs where thousands of individuals were killed. 19 Chinese vessels were monitored in 2 locations in the West Philippine Sea in February, according to the Philippine Navy. In a briefing on Tuesday, March 11, Navy spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, says People's Liberation Army Navy ships and Chinese Coast Guard vessels were monitored in Bajo de Masinloc and the Yungin Shoal.
For the month of February, a total of almost 12,000 ships of different kinds were monitored in our maritime domain. This comprises of 2,000 plus domestic and 9,000 plus foreign. Of these, 19 were PLA Navy and Coast Guard ships, 9 PLA Navy and 2 Coast Guard vessels were monitored in Bajo, and 7 PLA Navy and 1 Coast Guard vessel was sighted in Ayungin Shoal.
Although there were no suspicious activities monitored from these Chinese vessels, Trinidad points out that their presence alone was already illegal. Trinidad says the actions of the Philippine Navy, the Air Force, the Army, and the entire armed forces of the Philippines will continue amid all the illegal presence of any foreign intruder. From January to February this year, the Philippine Coast Guard monitored the movements of Chinese Coast Guard vessels unlawfully operating within the country's exclusive economic zone and near Zambales. Beijing's continued aggression was based on its assertion of sovereignty over almost the entire South China Sea, including most of the West Philippine Sea, as it continues to reject the 2016 arbitral ruling that effectively dismissed its claims and ruled in favor of Manila. The Manila Electric Company announces a 26 centavo per kilowatt-hour increase in its electricity rate in March. In a briefing on Tuesday, March 11, the power distributor says the adjustment would bring the overall rate to 12 pesos and 29 centavos per kilowatt-hour from last month's 12 pesos and 3 centavos per kilowatt-hour. This means a household consuming 200 kilowatt-hour will see an additional 53 pesos in their electricity bill this month. According to Meralco, the increase was due to the conclusion of reset fee adjustment in February, higher transmission charge, and feed-in tariff allowance.